Welcome to the Intelligence Amplifiers, podcast that celebrates the people who make the intelligence a collective superpower. In every episode, we uncover the stories of learning and development leaders who amplify knowledge, break down silos, and empower teams to thrive. These are the enablers of insight, the ones turning expertise into action and shaping the future of work by ensuring that the right knowledge reaches the right people at the right time. So, if you're ready to explore how the intelligence is amplified and shared across organizations, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Hello, and welcome to latest episode of Intelligence Amplifiers. And today we have Sarah Bright joining us from Darktrace. Welcome, Sarah.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you. And I know it's late your time. You're in the UK.
Well, afternoon time, 3 p.m. Not too bad. Just had a nice lunch, and the afternoon slump hasn't hit in because I'm here talking to you. So we're all good.
Got it. Well, welcome. Well, great to have you today. And I know you're in charge of people at a pretty hot startup-ish company. I know you guys are a little bit of a later stage, but you started very early on, more in PR, I believe, right? Totally different space. Can you tell us a little bit about the early career?
Yeah, sure. So I guess when I was at school and at university, it was kind of like summer internships, deciding what I wanted to do. And I did some internships in PR and I really liked them. And I thought, this is interesting. You're kind of getting to know a company really well and being the reputation of them, thinking about storytelling. So I did my first job in PR, doing consumer PR for different clients, but most of which actually happened to be in the technology industry. And those were the clients that I really enjoyed working with. But really, to be honest, I wanted to work in a company and make changes and work on kind of projects with them. After that, I moved into actually a charity doing lots of different events because I enjoyed the people side of things. I enjoyed like community outreach. COVID happened, changed everyone's paths, right? And then I got headhunted and moved to Darktrace, essentially. I started as a data analyst for the sales team. So I was working closely with our global head of sales and our sales VPs, doing lots of data analytics on Excel and providing insight into how we can make our sales cycle more efficient, how we can convert into more deals, essentially. And you'd think, like, how does this make sense? Someone that's come from PR and the charity world to be a data analyst for a cybersecurity company. But honestly, I learned so much on the job and I learned so much about the industry. And I think what they saw in me was the storytelling and the ability to translate the human skills to someone that might not be technical. I could learn the tech skills and then I could translate that in a kind of layman's terms to kind of troubleshoot any problems and work out solutions. Fast forward 2 years, I moved into the people team, which kind of aligned more to my initial skills and where the areas that I'm interested in. And I've been focused on L&D the past couple of years, which I'm really enjoying. So a kind of a whistle-stop tour of my experience into how I've got to where I am today.
Yeah, and I always focus less on like what you did than on why you did it. So I get it was PR, I get it was charity work, but what I find interesting is your love for telling the stories, right? And then your love for people, and that's kind of like the common, the early sort of like what you discovered as sort of like a passion, and I think that's super cool. So telling stories and working with people and making that difference. So that's what I heard. And I get how you. So this is also interesting. So you got into Darktrace and you got in working for sales, analyzing data, right, and kind of trying to figure out how to do some optimizations there. And so there's now also this natural sort of like, this is the challenge, like how do we solve it, right? Like, and so it sounds like learning and development, not in a terms of learning and development, but kind of like enabling people was a natural path forward. Can you maybe tell us a little bit more about that moment?
Honestly, yeah, Excel was something that was completely new to me. And I remember one of my interview questions was, what's your Excel party trick? And I think from then you could tell that I wasn't an Excel pro, but I learned a lot on the job. And then I think learning those data skills in that role, it really helped me kind of critically think as to what might be the right solutions. How can we use data to create the right decisions and to create the right outcomes? So in terms of moving into L&D, looking at different like employee engagement survey results, looking at exit data, looking at different pockets of the business into where the skills are and the skills gaps, it's actually served me really well. It wouldn't have been sort of a natural path where someone might think that, sales data analyst would fit into kind of an L&D professional, but it's really equipped me with skills that I think are pretty useful for working our business.
Yeah, we always, we have this community called Technocon, and we talk to people on like what are the challenges in technical learning and development. And the thing that always comes up is measuring results, right? And it's always a tricky thing. It's hard to do. It's easy to do like surveys and such, but it's hard to do like what's the impact of learning and development on people. But I like how you got into this was the opposite. It wasn't like, hey, we do L&D, what's the impact of that? It was more, hey, we have a challenge. Is L&D the right tool in the toolbox to solve that? So it was kind of like the reverse, solving the problem that you identified through data, through enabling people to get it done.
Yeah, well, honestly, it kind of happened. I was spinning lots of plates in the people team, working on lots of different initiatives before I kind of fully focused on L&D. And then the concept came up for Darktrace Academy, so kind of an online academy for essentially for sales enablement and for different product enablement. And I've been seeing lots of kind of hunger and desire to do more people skills, soft skills, skills that would kind of make people into better leaders, better managers, better all-round professionals. And kind of talking to different colleagues, we didn't have that already, not even in silos, just not at all. So I approached our then chief operating officer, and it sounded like the right fit that we kind of fill that gap. I was just the only one working on L&D at that time, and then eventually we've now got a team of 3. So the 3 of us since then have been working on lots of different initiatives for soft skills, manager skills, and just investments into building those amongst our people, which has been great. So it was kind of like I see the pocket there, and also it's been reflected in our employee engagement surveys and in any pulse checks that we do. The desire is really there for continued investment and development. So it's a busy place to be, but very rewarding as well.
Yeah, I love this sort of. You just raised your hand and said, "Hey, we don't have anybody doing L&D. I want to do it," and you essentially created a position for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was one of those. We were established in 2013, so we still have a kind of a startup mentality in terms of we see a problem, we want to fix it, we want to sort it, and I feel like that. Even moving into the people team and working on lots of different initiatives was a great way to have that oversight, and then kind of using the data background of seeing like where are the gaps, where is the trends, and kind of the exit survey data, and why are people leaving, what are people wanting, and then troubleshooting of what's the right solution. And it just really made sense to focus a lot more on L&D. And as I said, now there's a team of 3 of us dedicated to it. So I don't see us getting any less busy in the coming months and years. So that's good to know as well.
Yeah, super cool. And I love that sort of like you exhibit leadership, right? Like you created the position for yourself, and then you eventually created a team around yourself as well. So essentially established the entire L&D function in the company. So
yeah, one thing led to another, and we're kind of all working together, and we've got shared kind of goals, and we just built our strategy for the next financial year, and it's an exciting place to be. So forward to roll.
And so double clicking a little bit on what you actually did. So you raised your hand, you said, I see a problem, and created a position, then created a team. But then I believe you focused on manager development training, right? That was like one of the things. And we talked a little bit about the tier structure and how you did that. Can you tell us a little bit about how you envision manager development training, like, and you went about like kind of creating this vision and putting it all together and making it happen?
Yeah, sure. I think so previously there wasn't any manager training. People were just promoted into manager roles for being really good at their job. And that was like the next sort of obvious role in terms of their progression. Okay, now I'll manage people because that's the next rung on the ladder. But they weren't trained as to how do you do that? Obviously, you're good at your job. It doesn't mean that people's skills come naturally. It's hard to manage people. So with that, we rolled out our first pilot classes of manager training to about classes of 30, so sort of 20 to 30 people. And we're rolling them out in sort of 9 different offices around the world, in person, events that kind of brought people together from different departments. So also doubled down as a networking opportunity and to foster cross-departmental collaboration, which is really nice. So we rolled that out to around 250 managers over the past year and a half. So it's been a nice big project. And that's kind of been sort of managers training, kind of the essentials, different theories, different personality styles, kind of working any situations that come up and working through coaching and different ideas of how to get to the best solution. So it's been a great way of building that network of our manager community. But that was kind of us trying to scoop up all the manager population that have been in those roles, but not had formal training before. But now we've been focused on those 2 extra rungs, as you mentioned. So a more foundational level called Manager Energize, where we're focusing on really practical skills. So it could be time management, it could be a kind of having difficult conversation, coaching, but kind of more of a practical approach. How do we do this? And what are different strategies and techniques? And then the one I mentioned before was Manager Excellence, and it's a 2-day course, really to build that network as well. And then the more advanced one that would be top level is our Manager Elite. We like to go off E's, Manager Excellence, Energize, and Elite. And that will be more kind of strategic, forward-facing, kind of creating strategies that involve developing your talents, kind of succession planning and growth opportunities and like push projects and just growing your talent for success in the future as well. So that's kind of how we're envisioning investing in our managers even further. But yeah, we've kind of been strategizing a bit today. I'm in the office today and working on lots of new ideas as well that we're excited about. But that's our main kind of curriculum that we're looking at.
Got it. And I, this is a pattern or an anti-pattern that I see all the time, right? So we promote people to managers because we think that that's the next thing, right? And we used to do that, especially to engineers. And it's totally it's really a lateral move, not a promotion. You end up doing a totally different job with a totally different set of tools with totally different capabilities required. It's a quote unquote promotion, but not really. And I like how you noticed that it's not just throwing. It's people need some kind of support there, and a lot of companies end up building manager training. What's interesting about what you did, to me at least, was that you created 3 different steps there. So you mentioned Energize, Excellent, and Elite, right? Like the different levels. And also another thing that was kind of interesting to me is you mentioned managerial community, right? So one of the things that I've seen is, it's easy to create a training and throw people to 2, 3, 5 day experience, and they come out and they're like, yeah, I can now manage. But that kind of wanes down like quickly. So, but having this community of like ongoing support and like being able to learn from one another and kind of feel like supported essentially is unique and different. So can you tell us maybe a little bit about what the community, like, is there a structure to a community, or how do you support that?
It's kind of more so something that we're thinking about. We want to develop more. It's an area where people come away from our trainings and they think it's great that we've made these new connections and we've actually got the same issues and things that we're facing. And it's nice to speak to someone, if you're in legal, to speak to a sales manager and they're dealing with the same issues or the same things that come up. So I think that what we're focusing on as we've been strategizing for our next FY is to kind of look at different ways where we can bring people together. And it's difficult being a global company. We've got 2,500 employees across the world, but we want to make sure that there's space and there's dedicated time to have like knowledge sharing or to have like smaller virtual discussions. So yeah, we've been planning to do manager forums, manager sessions that are kind of focused on, like, maybe it will be coaching, or maybe it will be having difficult conversations or leadership styles, things like that people can collaborate, come together, and also hear from execs as well, because you can't underestimate the value of hearing from senior leaders that you're a leader yourself and you want to hear from someone that's managing a whole department, and it's kind of inspirational in one way, but also how can you share messages within your team? How can you storytell? How can you best motivate people? So in terms of that structure and that community and inspiring them, that's something that we're really excited to be doing soon. And then bringing people together in those kind of forums as well is something that hopefully people will enjoy and get a lot out of, because networking is really great. So.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to emphasize, so it's a lot of it is live in-person training, right? And even though it's a global company, you find that there's a lot of value of humans actually coming together and being in the same place.
I think there's those conversations that you have in between sessions that you'll make connections, or things will come up, and you can't underestimate the value of a human connection. Don't get me wrong, online is amazing, and it is really, really important to use that when we can, especially when budgets are tight and when we can't bring everyone together at certain points of the year because it's just not feasible. It is great to bring people together online, but in person you get to have those organic conversations and build connections well. So we've done that, but we're going to do both really. When whatever we can, we'll do, because there's a lot of value in bringing them together.
Yeah, I call those the sidebar conversations, and sometimes when I go to retreats and such, I find as much, if not even more, value in those just serendipitous conversations that happen between sessions, over lunch, over dinner, whatever. So yeah. That's pretty cool. So I love that you're doing that. So you noticed manager development was one issue, and you went and you created this tier structure of like Energized, Excellence, Elite, and you brought people together. But I remember at one point we also talked about career development, and you talked about capabilities, and so this is more for individual contributors as well. So it's much broader than just managers. So how did that come about? What is your career development kind of initiative?
Yeah, so last year was a big year for the L&D team, because we kind of came together, the three of us, but our employee engagement survey highlighted that there was a need for just more clarity around different career progression tracks. So we kind of identified the need to standardize what does it mean to progress in different departments, like what are the possible routes? Does it mean having to go into management, or is there any technical progression routes that I could take? So there was a big project that we undertook to highlight what each role does and the specifications and the KPIs and kind of what the guidelines are for that role, and then moving in different tracks, like what are the progression options. So if it's a managerial track in that department, or if it's a technical track, or even within IT, there might be different technical specialization routes. So we did a big project there to outline all of those details. And with that, we were able to highlight all the skills in there. So people are able to go onto that framework, look at their job, and understand what am I meant to be doing, and what does success look like for my role, and then what are the progression options and what are the routes for success. And that's just really helped people understand how they can get promotions and be successful and what that looks like. But also it promotes lateral movement. So if someone is in a position, but they're kind of thinking, analyst sounds cool, let's see what they do, I want to look at that job. They're able to look exactly what that job is, what the skills are, the requirements are. And linked to that, we also introduced a new quarterly check-in review process. But before that, there wasn't any centralized process of having check-ins with your manager. So people are prompted to use this framework, this career framework, in those quarterly conversations. So they'll speak to their manager, you'll chat through a crib of questions related to your achievements, your goals, but also what your career you want it to look like and what your aspirations are and how your skills match up to what they A, should be right now, and B, where you want to go in the future. And it really opens up that clarity. It just empowers people to have more control of their careers and their futures. And we've definitely heard that people are enjoying it. We've seen the next employee engagement results that was a year later that it's much improved in those areas. So it was a good news story for us in the L&D team. But honestly, it's just really helped our employees just have a bit more control and clarity around how they can move up. So it's been very exciting.
Yeah, that's cool. And I love this approach. You bring your sort of analyst mindset first. You're like, what's the problem here that we need to solve? All right, well, people don't understand the career paths, blah, blah. And then you go and use L&D as a means to solving a problem. And then you can see how the problem is solved. So it's, like I said, it's usually the opposite of somebody who's just kind of like a full-time L&D and trying to measure like how valuable are we. We are actually looking for a problem first and then building a solution around that. So I thought that was super cool.
I think that, there's obviously like companies should have kind of standardization around job roles. There should be clarity and career progression. But I think for us, it was just really telling that was something that we really wanted to focus attention on, and we wanted to make it good. We didn't want to just roll something out in a way that like, here you go. We actually listened and we understood where people were coming from and the purpose for what we were doing and purpose for these projects. So we really enabled our employee base. We did lots of drop-in sessions. We did lots of articles online and lots of tutorials as to how to use these new tools. We didn't just sort of give it to them and say, here you go, which, things can get lost like that. People are very busy. So we really wanted to make sure that this is, we've understood what you wanted. We know that it's not super clear at the moment, and this is why we're helping you make the most of your careers here. I think that's important as well.
Got it. And we talked a lot about advancing careers and kind of like that promotion and so forth. I want to say I also heard when we talked earlier something about mobility. So which is not just like progression, but like it's actually being able to move to different position or roles. How important is that, and how do you track, or what do you do about career mobility at Dark?
It's really important. I think that it's the career progression framework that we've created has really helped with that, because it just outlines what the different roles look like, not only in your department, but in other departments too. So the clarity is really important in terms of if you're an employee wanting to progress or move to a different area. But also from an HR perspective, we've got roles that are open in different parts of the business, and we'd love for people who are already internal in the business that fit those skills to be able to move. It's a great news story for us, and it's also it builds people's skills, and it's so exciting. I mean, within the L&D team, I've moved from being in sales ops to people team, L&D. We've got someone who used to work in sales enablement, and now they're in L&D, and we have a solutions engineer who is now in L&D. So people just bring different backgrounds and perspectives to different roles. Like we all come from different worlds and from different backgrounds, and I think it enriches the experience that we have working together. So yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, we call that collective intelligence, when you kind of get people to kind of from different teams, different positions, different functions come together and learn from one another. That's where ideas collide, and interesting things come out of that. And I think that's magic right there. So, but that's why in a way, that's why you can't do that if it's a solo learning. You need to do it as a sort of like we're learning together, right? Otherwise, those ideas are not going to mesh.
Yeah, and it helps with problem solving. Like you can see different parts of the business where a problem might arise to you, or you might be told, okay, there's something that we could make better here. And because you're in a team with different perspectives, and you can also bring in other stakeholders that have interest within that issue or within that area. You really get great ideas that you can then delve into further. Because if you're working, either solo or with a similar profile of person, you may not get to the same conclusion, or you may not get to an outcome that would be optimal. So it is super useful when it comes to making things more efficient, improving experiences, and problem solving.
Yeah, very cool. Cool. So I'm curious, what are you excited about? What's next for you? What's on the horizon? Yeah.
Lots of things. I'm in the office today. We've been working on our strategy. But honestly, we're from talking about the career frameworks that I mentioned, and how people are able to look at how they can move within the company, tied together with our quarterly check-ins. We're really excited to be working on learning pathways next, because what everyone's been talking about, from what we've heard in their quarterly check-ins, people want to obviously move or to learn a different skill, because that's the skill that they can identify in that next role that they want, but they don't know what content to consume in order to get better at that skill, which training to consume. So we're excited to be building learning pathways. So that will be our next project. And we're also, focusing a lot more on manager enablement and training. Honestly, there's a lot going on. We're also optimizing our onboarding experience. The main thing is learning pathways, which we're very excited about, learning about the skills gaps, the areas, and really building out a robust framework for people to have a learning journey.
Got it. And one of the things that I have to ask, but it's the role of AI, right? Like, and we're seeing a lot of organizations doing massive updates to how they do things and how they invest in people, and how they want to empower them with artificial intelligence and all those things. And I'm curious about the role of learning and development in all that. How do you see it today? Any initiatives there?
Honestly, I think it's really exciting, and I don't think it's because I'm biased, because I work for a company that does AI, self-learning AI. So for us, at my company, AI is exciting. I see AI in terms of L&D as a kind of really helping us in terms of coaching, because you can interact with AI in a way where you can set up profiles, you can set up ways in which you want it to act in order to improve your skills. So in terms of manager enablement, it's a game changer in terms of practicing conversations with someone that is a certain profile. Say you're worried about a performance conversation with an employee that has certain personality traits. You can get the AI to act as if they're that profile of person and practice those conversations. If you're a seller, you can work on negotiating with an AI coach. So I think AI is a really exciting tool to use for L&D professionals in terms of coaching. We've already used it in terms of our career progression framework to build it, because it's really helped us build out our skills capabilities. But there are so many more use cases that we're excited to explore. And I think the skills that the AI brings is also going to help us save a lot of time, because it's just going to help us actually work on the projects and understand what's going on, and kind of upskill with those coaching conversations. But for L&D professionals, it's going to really help us to save time in crunching data and things like that, for us to critical thinking and to work with storytelling and to launch initiatives. So that'll be useful.
It's very interesting how AI is helping us with things that are very human in nature, right? So like crucial conversations and skills like that. So super exciting. Yeah, super exciting. I'm looking forward to following how you identify problems and use learning and development to solve them. So Sarah, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story. Super appreciate it.
It's such a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you again, and we'll stay in touch on all these initiatives you have.
That's it for this episode of the Intelligence Amplifiers. If you like what you've heard, be sure to subscribe or follow so you don't miss out on the future episodes. And if you're interested in being a guest or have a question, check out the episode description for how to reach us. Also, don't forget to check out Plus Plus, the platform that makes collective intelligence at scale possible. Find out more at plusplus.co. Thank you for listening, and until next time, keep amplifying.